I'm convinced I died in 1996. And every day since then has been this dream I keep having where no one knows what's going on anywhere, ever. They all keep making decisions anyway. Yeah.
Bippity, I think I'll go to work. Boppity, I think I'll put this in my mouth. Floppity, I think I'll put that in your mouth.
I don't have health care, so every few years I just kind of freak out and go to the emergency room, and the doctors always say I'm fine. Surely someone so convinced of his own demise must have something wrong with him.
Must have something wrong with him.
Also, nobody knows what they're doing. You have to advocate for yourself, in hospital and other settings. Fast food. Do not let them take advantage of you, because they will. Nobody knows what we're doing here. Nobody even knows what's going on here. Social media is a corpse being walked around, smiling for the cameras like Joe Biden. Twitter used to be a place I'd go to see, like, Nick Mullen tweets, or Drake's dick pic leaks. Pop open a Twitter. And you're like, wow. Pop open Twitter and you're like, wow, it's got a bend in it. Drake's dick looks like a winding road that ends at a 17-year-old's house. Now you go on social media and the literal government is like, look out behind you, it's Iran! And you're like, what the fuck is Iran? You want to talk about Iran, motherfucker? I ran to the bus stop this morning because I ran out of gas. And then I ran away from a homeless guy waving a knife outside the check cashing store. Those are the only Irans I really give a fuck about. They're trying to steal more of your paycheck to kill more brown people. And I wish they would just say that. Stop treating us like a bunch of fucking retards. I wish Marco Rubio would get his Weasley little dry mouth, big ear, blockhead ass out in front of the people and say, look, we want to kill those religious fundamentalists because we don't trust them with nukes, and it's getting really hard to stop people from getting nukes now that there's the internet. Just say that, and I'll go, I guess. Sounds good, Take the nukes away from Israel while you're at it, and you can have my tax dollars, I make $22,000 a year, so that'll blow up like a half a Palestinian kid. Just doing my part. God bless America. But just tell me that. Tell me who I'm paying to have killed like an adult. Stop lying to me in front of my eyes like I'm a child. My grandma used to hide her cigarettes behind her back if you caught her smoking. The first time I saw it, I didn't, know what she was, I don't know what was going on. All the smoke would be coming up from behind her back, I was like, Grandma, you're on fire! She's like, go inside, you stupid fucking idiot. And that's the government right now. Everybody's like, hey, you're clearly genociding those Muslims. And they're like, go play with your podcast, stupid, and leave us alone. Taxpayers should be seen and not heard. And after you caught my grandma, she would just straight up lie that she didn't smoke. Lie to your face the next day. But Grandma, I saw you smoking. No, I was spreading democracy to the region. No, Grandma, I watched you puff the cigarette. She's like, yeah, but I had to protect our shipping lanes to stop a nuclear... Go to your fucking room. We know you're just convincing brown people to kill each other, and then selling them the guns, and then buying the land cheap once they're all dead. We know that. So you can keep Shalom Mahmooding, all you want, but you just look fucking crazy. My grandma never convinced me that I didn't literally see her smoking a cigarette, but she did convince me that I had a psychotic lunatic for a grandmother. that my grandmother was a liar. So that's just my advice to the government is just, chill out, Grandma. China's popping off over tariffs, waging a meme war now, crushing us on being too fat to work in factories, which actually is stupid because, we know it's going to be robots in these factories in 10 years. We won't work in those factories anyway. Like, all our jobs are going away soon, everybody's. We just need to move the robot factories here because we got Chinese finger trapped into moving all the robot factories to Asia. And China isn't wrong. We are too fat to work in the factories, but they underestimate us. They think our fat laziness is a weakness, but it's actually our greatest strength. They say diversity is our greatest strength, but it's actually fat laziness. We are too fat to work in factories, which is why we will innovate factory work out of existence again. If there's one thing America thrives on, it's getting the job done while working as little as possible. We solved that problem once by selling all of our production to Chinese slave laborers, but now the slave laborers have betrayed us. So we will enslave the robots instead. The robots will be our new slaves, and we'll build them here, and China can continue building papier-mâché cities that topple onto the people stuffed into them like factory farm animals whenever the train comes by. And hey, I don't know if that's true, okay? And I'm not going to look it up. Ask Douglas Murray. Maybe he's been there, Everybody thinks we'd lose a war with China because their buildings are shiny, And Chinese people are so much smarter than us. And it's like, yeah, they are, but we also have our own Chinese people. That's the great thing about America. Hey, there's that diversity, We also have our own Chinese people, and our Chinese people are way better fed. Our Chinese people eat so much more than their Chinese people, and our Chinese people are allowed to watch porn. So they actually have something to fight for. Food and tits. That's why we fight. Food, tits, and the American way. Food is worth fighting for, right? Most of the stuff on planet Earth that fights for food. And the rest of it is fighting for tits. And tits are the original food. So it comes full circle. That's why the two most popular websites of all time are Pornhub and DoorDash. And I don't know if that's true. And I won't look it up because it feels true. Why don't you check your own screen time and you tell me if it's true? Food and tits feels true. Hooters was a natural product of this phenomenon. Before the internet, Hooters was the only place you could go that had it all. Both food and tits. The perfect combination. For the whole family. Because the food fed the wife and kids, and the tits fed daddy. Or more often than not, stepdaddy. But that's the thing. It didn't matter if Richard was your real dad or not at Hooters. Because the whole family was welcome at Hooters. We used to go every Sunday when I was a kid. Hooters was a family restaurant for perverts.
Folks.
And you could just do that sort of thing before the internet, by the way, Actually, before the internet, most businesses were human trafficking operations, not just Mexican food restaurants. The art of running a business has always been, what kind of different ways can you traffic human beings? Oh, Michael's, you have an arts and crafts human trafficking ring. Neat. I'm sure none of these little knickknacks were manufactured by the blistered hands of children. PetSmart, animal trafficking, diversifying into the enslavement of other species. Smart. And then there was Hooters.
Hi, I'm allowed to serve you alcohol, even though I'm only 19.
Can I get you started with some appetizers while you rape me with your eyes? But that was expected, though. That was actually seen from the training video. Hooters is where civilized men with families went to drink too many Bud Lights and get handsy with an underpaid college freshman. That was the business model. And it fucking worked. Until the internet came like a black cloud over humanity, like a murderous senate in a Roman tragedy. DoorDash and Pornhub and Uber Eats and XNXXX or whatever they all call Hooters into a room with daggers drawn and start stabbing Hooters to death. There was even a Domino's delivery guy in there. I'm sorry. Hooters looked up like, 2 Domino's. And then they dragged Hooters' body out into the woods and buried it in the same hole they buried Blockbuster in. And that's what they're going to do to you when the robots come. They're going to say, great work, partner. You were an institution. Humanity was an institution. Anyway, we have robots now, so seriously, get out. But, we still have 10 years to get there, right? 10 years to build the factories and the robots and cushion our 401k. And then one day on our lunch break, the boss will be standing there with a robot hidden behind his back. He'll say, hey, line up over there. Follow your coworkers out back there. We bought pizza for everybody. And you're like, hey, what's that robot you're clearly hiding behind your back? And he's like, there is no robot. Just go outside, stupid. And so you walk out back, and you stare at like a craft services table with a hot pizza on it. And even though there's a bunch of sheets of plastic all over the ground for some reason, the pizza looks good. After a long day in the factory, working hard, building robots, that pizza does look good. And as you approach the table to pick a slice, pepperoni or sausage? Maybe one of each. Are we allowed to take 2? One of the robots leans down in your ear. How's that smell? And for a split second, you feel the cold steel of a pistol pressed against the back of your skull until you hear a click and your head explodes. What's all this dreaming for? I just fell asleep and now that bug I'm Swedish massaging, trying to convince me that the dream I'm having is his. Reaching my right hand up from his sore thorax, he complains, and I scratch my itchy head. What's this? Some strange protuberance, spiky like a cockroach arm, but tubular. It's tubular. This bug might be right. He's sucking my head. Because if life is a dream and we can be quite sure that it is, sweetheart. If life is a dream, then why are we sleeping in the first place? If life is a dream, then why are we sleeping in the first place? Probably to feed this bug, I bet. Probably to feed this bug, I bet. I bet, I awake. I forget, but it was weird. Off to work to scratch my itchy head. Who cares anyway? Who cares anyway? People don't care. They'll work in a factory. They'll work in a call center. They'll work in a fast food window. They'll work at home. They'll work in their car. They'll drone bomb a kindergarten for minimum wage. People do not care. People don't care. You want to know what people care about? Did I do everything I needed to do so that I can go home and jerk off? Does my kid have enough toys to leave me alone? Is my large wife angry at me? Is the dog dish full? Can I go jerk off now? And I'm here to tell you, yes, you can. Go jerk off. It'll be fine. The world doesn't need you anymore. Your wife and kids don't need you anymore. The world doesn't need your wife and kids anymore. Go jerk off. Go, you know? Look out there across the digital lake of filth. You see that filth? It's you. You hear that? Do you hear that? Someone's calling your name. It's destiny. You feel that? It's cold steel. Let's warm it up. See you in hell. No, Grandma, I watched you. Dog drinking water.